Hey, welcome back to part two of the series, Tracking the Black Dollar. In this particular section, we're going to talk about trapping it. So, not just tracking it, but actually trapping it. And unfortunately, we are in, I believe, day 31 of our government shutdown. So, that kind of makes it more of an imperative that we do track and trap our black dollars. And sadly to say that America is ripping apart at the seams, and to me, it's mainly because of racial animus. And unfortunately, some people in this country, particularly the racist bigots, would prefer that this country burns to the ground rather than share it. And this government shutdown just is another indication of that. And this shutdown in this instance is crippling communities, families, and businesses. And the sad part is when DC stops functioning, our checks don't just pause. We have neighbors and neighborhoods that stop breathing. And for us in the Black community, we need to be well done with seeking oxygen from the government. And I'm not talking about in the form of handouts or anything like that, but in the form of factors that will shock our communities. And so we need to build our own lungs so that we are shock proof, or that if the shocks run through our communities, it's not as detrimental. And so we across the African diaspora, we have to commit to locking in and locking arms. We can't wait on the government. And as you can see, they're kidnapping not just, well, as they said, the brown people, they're kidnapping US citizens, they're kidnapping Black folks just as well. And so we have to be intentional with how we communicate this to our community. And we have to make sure that we shore up each other because these things are done intentionally. These shutdowns, these gridlocks, the gerrymandering, it's done intentionally. And when we don't control our land, the finances, we're not a part of the procurement process, then we are at the mercy of those that do. And so we need to pivot from not just tracking that black dollar, but to trapping it. We need to be intentional. We need to do it predictably. We need to trap it locally and I would say even on our own terms. And so there's going to be some required reading. I have an article that I want to share, a website that I want to share that is going to talk to you about um, the Black Wall Streets across various parts of the US. And it was done by I think his name is Articrew Scribes, and it was done October 12th, 2025. And basically, it's Black Wall Streets across America. It's the city guides to historic and modern hubs of Black economic power. And then the gist of this guide is that it maps out the historic and modern business districts that have and did build closed loop economies. And that's what we have to do. We have to build our economy to where it wraps around us and that our dollars circulate multiple times before it exit our communities. And so whether that is looking at the Tulsas, whether that's looking at the sweet Auburn districts, the Hayti districts, anywhere up in Harlem, out on the West Coast, these were the blueprints. So we need to get back to looking at what they did so that we ourselves can mimic those in a more scaled fashion. And so it's very important that we go do that reading so that we can see what that blueprint looks like. And also in that, it lays out the structural forces that destroyed those communities in the form of systemic racism, the violence, the redlining, the urban renewal, the highways that ran through and away from our communities to basically starve them. And so it just points out the modern hubs and the platforms that are being used by the more modern Wall Streets, the Black Wall Streets. And so because we have dense cultures of people, it would be easier for us to concentrate our black dollars into our communities and then shore up our community institutions so that we can create resilience like they did then, we can do it now. And so it lays out, the different stacks or the different layers that were used so that we could um, do this. So that would be like, say, for instance, in the form of community land trust. That way, we own the land. Whether you're in one building and you're doing community leasing, it helps each business inside of that building to offset their costs. Pairing with Black banks or community development financial institutions, um, that helps with financing. And then, as far as like, say, groceries, everything is within walking distance. And so the co-ops, the last mile deliveries, the community gardens, so that if there's food deserts, we can help ameliorate that. And so we need to capture our daily spend that way. As far as the care economy, we're talking about child care, elder care, health care, mental care. We have plenty of professionals within our communities that we can do it in the form of energy. We can do co-ops, we can do solar, but basically what you're trying to do is bring down the utility bills of everyone in that community. As far as the services, I mean, we have engineered all types of things inside of our communities. So from music to the stoplight to the ironing board, we can do this. We have plenty of skilled um, people within our communities that have come before us. They're going to be with us now. They're with us now, and that'll be behind us. So I think that we can just tap into that so that we're servicing each other. As far as media, it's important that we have trusted sources. So we need to develop our own platforms to where we're getting credible information and we can help to alleviate the disinformation and the misinformation. So things like the Black Star Network, Fanbase, Spoutable, Bean, whatever that platform may be, we need to make sure that we're funding them and that we're participating in the platform so that we can get our information out and across throughout the diaspora. But the main thing is it has to be trusted, it has to be credible. And so that's how we start to do it. We anchor our societies, our communities with, large contracts. So whether that be with a university, a hospital, a city contract, something like that. But that's how we start to multiply our dollars and pour them back into our community. And in that way, we don't have to continue to wait for someone else to make policies and forms so that we can get in. But as a collective, we have to go from being consumers to strategists to producers. And lastly, I'll say a part of that is any business that's in our communities that are not funding our kids, that are not sponsoring our kids, whether it's their football leagues, their school trips, or whatever. They won't hire locally, they won't fund scholarships. We have to reroute our money. And the crazy part is we are fueling their dreams, right? We're sending their kids to college, we're placing food on their tables, but they are taking monies outside of our communities. Those are the types of businesses that we have to eject. And we have to make sure that we are aligned with businesses and vendors that will tangibly reinvest in us. And that plays a part in our talent pipeline. So, HBCUs, we have to make sure that we send our kids to our education hubs. And in doing so, we have to invest with our time and our talents, as well as with our dollars. Because post DEI, post affirmative action, chasing IVs and whatever prestige that comes along with that, that's less strategic. And so we have to worry about servicing and getting a part of our HBCUs so that our education, our socialization is tapped into us. And so we have to make them our education hubs, our employers, or we'll send our dollars so that we can continue to build internships and hiring programs so that we create the pipelines for our communities. They'll run to and from our communities. And then we also, in that fashion, you break that school to prison pipeline that's been set up to trap our kids. So, and then I would pair on top of that our student athletes. It is crazy to me how these coaches like the Tommy Tubervilles can get so much fame and fortune off of the backs of their labor, but yet show you in the end that they were who they were all along, which are racist bigots. And it's important that we as a community send our kids to these places because if we build our universities up, our colleges up, that's where the talent is. So the recruiters will have to come. The ESPNs will have to come. The college game days, the Neils, the Yadas, it has to come because that's where the money is going to be. And that's where we have to direct it. That's where our power is. We can't continue to give our power away. And we can't keep trusting a government that can't look at it. they can't reliably fund itself. They can't protect our civil rights. So we have to be intentional in owning our land and financing each other and measuring our recirculation out loud and on purpose. And that's how we get back to Black Wall Streets, from the memory to the machinery now. And so I would charge you to go back and watch the first video that I put up, which is Trace the Black Dollars, do the required reading, which I'll link into the description. And that's about Historic Black Wall Streets by Mr. Scribes. And then I would say, if you're not a part of a community that is already doing the work for this, laying the foundation for this, that you join one or that you start to build one, so that we can leverage our economic power, so that we can leverage our knowledge and our resources. And then lastly, come back here, leave your blueprint, leave your comments, leave your trials and errors, so that we too can help join in and lock arms, and so that we can lean in and help